What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Creative Rise Podcast. Welcome to a super fun episode. We're going to be talking about Christy's origin story, my origin story of getting to where we are at in our careers, the ups, the downs, the things we've learned. I don't know if we've ever done an episode like this.
Full inside look, which honestly, I'm a nosy person, so I love these types of things. So I hope you
this is going to be like a year by year collection of kind of what happened in that year. What are some of the things that were gray? What we could have learned? You know, what are some of the bad things that happened?
Yeah.
But this is a giant week for Creative Rise. This is like the Super Bowl of Creative Rise this week because on Wednesday at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, we have the six-figure creator workshop going down. There are hundreds of you guys already signed up, registered, locked, sealed, delivered, ready to go. And it is going to be so fun. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so this Wednesday, we are talking about the 5 trends and tools that we believe you need to build a strong creative business in the next 12 months. We're so excited to talk about it. So it's the six-figure creator workshop this Wednesday. And again, Joey said, it's free. It's live. We're going to do literally live Q&A at the end of it. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be great.
All things business, none of the fluff, all the value.
And what are we doing differently than we normally do?
What are we doing?
Guest experts.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, come on. For the first time ever, we're having some of our friends that are doing really, really well in their businesses right now. Come on in and share these like mini TED Talk style things with you guys on what the one thing that they are doing that's working for them right now. So we cannot wait for that as well. So if you want to see what you're actually going to be learning on the workshop, hit the description of this podcast. You'll see all the details there and where you can make sure you get registered.
Yeah.
And
the phrase for the week, sign up and show up.
Sign up and show up. I love that.
And show up.
And then even more fun once we get there, not more fun of the workshop right now, but once we get there, September 1st, we are, for the first time in like 6 months, finally releasing the application for round 12 of the 6-week Creative Rise Mastermind, which is so exciting. If you're new to Creative Rise, the 6-week Mastermind is something we started back in 2019, and it is a foundational mastermind experience you go through to help you build a really solid 6-figure foundation for your creative business. So it's 6 weeks of community, coaching, accountability, and so much more. And that has not been open since way earlier this year. And so for the first time in the later part of 2024, it's reopening. September 1st is when applications go live. And really exciting, if you're on the wait list, you're going to get it a couple of days earlier than that, which we're super thrilled about. Yeah. So we cannot wait to see who the next 35 businesses are going to be that we get to work with, lock arms with, and really help build solid 6-figure foundations for their business through the 6-week Creative Rise Mastermind. There's just a lot going on, and we are so excited about it. Yeah. But this week's episode, if you want to get on the wait list, hit the description of the podcast. You can see everything in the show notes. So we are so thrilled, because this episode is going to be fun. We have never actually done this. I think we've told lots of parts of your story, lots of parts of my story, but we've never simultaneously in one episode kind of shared the top to bottom, real quick, high level edition of what got you to where you are, the things you've learned, and what got me to where I am, the things I've learned. So I'm excited for this. I hope you're excited. Christy is going to go first. So I'm actually going to kind of prompt Christy with, hey, in this year, this happened. Tell us about that. And then we'll get to me after. So
interview style.
You ready?
Hit me.
Let's do it. All right. So 2016, you were working for a nonprofit called Compassion Causes. Mm-hmm. You had no creative business. Take us there.
None. So yes, back in 2016, rocking the side part and also working 3 jobs at the same
The sidebar, yes. You were rocking the
sidebar. And I was working 3 jobs at the time. So I had graduated from university. I was like barely making my student loan payment. And if you're someone that's done the multi-job thing before, I feel you, and I feel you how stressful it is. So I was working 3 jobs. One was being a nonprofit, which is very non-profitable. So I was like, okay, I got to do something else. I had a little side hustle for photography, and I was like, this is actually really sick. I would love to build a business. And so I was like, why not wedding photography? Let's just go for it. And so I was like, okay, I'll give myself, I think it was, the very end of 2016. I was so done with working 3 jobs. And I was like, okay, like literally January of 2017, I was like, I'm going to give myself 6 months to make this a full-time business. If this is not full-time at the end of 6 months, I'm quitting and going back to like wanting to be a lawyer or something. Literally, I wanted to be
Yeah, she did. She worked at a law firm for
lots of like different interests. So anyways, 6 months, and that was my like goal.
Yeah, so 2016 was a big year because you were doing something you loved, but it was not paying for your life. You decided you wanted to turn a small side hustle into a business.
Yes.
Early 2017, you gave yourself 6 months, and what actually happened? Like, what did that look like in the first 6 months? What were you doing? Because worked,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, it worked. Spoiler alert, it worked. So I gave myself 6 months. And again, you guys, this story is like, I'm not anything special. I didn't have like super special photography powers. I didn't have special anything. I didn't even know many other photographers at all. I just was like, I'm going to give myself, it was probably more desperation. I'm going to give myself this to like all of it. I'm going to give myself. And so I started the 2 photographers that I knew. I was like, hey, can I come and like work alongside you on a shoot? Can I like come get some content? Like, if you have anything. And so I ended up flying down to San Diego on my own dime. Like, this trip cost me money. Went and shot this styled shoot with an influencer, got a bunch of content, and started like really just posting a ton of it, sharing all that kind of stuff. That really ramped up. I started working with like, yeah, people that were maybe not even influencers, but some influencers and then just other influential people in like my area and down south. And I'm from California, by the way. And I just started working with people like that. And I literally just started taking jobs wherever I could and just started like literally pushing this rock uphill is what it felt like. But it started to eventually roll downhill.
Yeah, which is great. All right, so 2017 was a big year. You also, we're not going to glaze over this, but we got to go quick. You also got reached out to by one of the largest beverage companies in the U.S. and they're in their niche, the sparkling water niche. LaCroix reaches out to you, which is insane. So you land a brand deal before you even knew what working with brands was.
At the time, I hated sparkling water, and I got an email from LaCroix saying, hey, we want to shoot this like desert shoot promo for Coachella. And again, I lived in California. I think they probably saw like a tagged photo or something. And I was like, well, I don't shoot brands, but like, sure, why not? So I got a bunch of models, shot this campaign for them, kind of thought it'd be a one-off thing, and that's it. And then I still work with them to this day. Like, we literally just finished a campaign.
7 and a bit years later, you just wrapped up 2 campaigns last week, which is a whole
my ride or dies. But
yeah, super cool. So I think the lesson from those 2 years, 2016, 2017, was go all in and invest in your business. Those are the 2 things I hear that got you where you are. Now, 2018, I would say is like a year where I think it looks like you kind of popped.
Yeah. I had stopped sending emails that were like 2017 when I started, I'd be like sending emails where I'm like typing out my pricing and it's like 1 package rather than like 3 packages with like a price anchor. I didn't have any of that. I was just like, hey, I will shoot your wedding for $1,000 and this is the camera that I use and these were the presets that I use. Like, it was so cringe, you guys. I literally shared these screenshots in the mastermind because it's so embarrassing. It's like such a good what not to do.
It is very embarrassing.
So I moved past that.
If you're doing that, don't do that.
I moved past that, legitimized my business. 2018 was where it really started taking off. I got to like do some crazy, just random experiences of like, I shot a proposal in front of the Eiffel Tower, which was really cool. The year before, I'd written down a goals sheet of like, here's all the things that I want to do in my business. I highly recommend you do that. Actually write it down, pen to paper. One of the things was my dream. It will never happen, but my dream is to shoot with Beholden, which was Anthropologie's wedding line. And I was like, I would just love to shoot for Beholden. It'd be so cool. In 2018, after, again, I was working all these weddings. I was working with a bunch of brides that were, wearing Beholden dresses. I was tagging them, all this stuff, basically sending them all the time. And they ended up actually emailing me, which again, it's crazy.
It's crazy that happened.
But then I got to go and shoot with them all that year, all around the U.S. I shot in like Savannah, Napa, North Carolina, Greece. Like, it was really such an amazing year of like new growth, which was cool.
Yeah, and then 2019, it like doubles down. This is another big year is when we met.
Yes, this was where I feel like I really more so entered into like the destination era of my business, which is what I was really trying to push towards. No one knew where I lived. Like, I had a very location anonymous business, which was by design. And so people were just like, I'm getting married in St. Lucia. I'm getting married in Nicaragua. I'm getting married in Mexico. All these different places. And I got to go and shoot in all of those places. And it was really amazing. And 2019, I also, when I was on my way to shoot in Mexico, met Joey in an airport.
Going to Mexico, and we met. It was awesome. In the security line at LAX, which is a whole other story for a different day, different episode. That was a cool year.
Really cool year.
2019 was big. 2018, 2019 were like big push years in like wedding specific. Yeah. Even though you got to shoot some LaCroix stuff, and then you actually shot like a wedding brand, which is so cool. Bolton was even looking back on memories and videos you have of like where you got to stay and like it was really, really cool.
It was really amazing.
2020.
Yeah. 2020 started off like that was one of the most like that was one of the beginning of that year was one of the coolest times of my business because like I said in 2016, I was working for a nonprofit that I helped start with a couple friends and we were doing clean water in Nicaragua. It was super cool. In 2020, end of 2019, I got to go and shoot a wedding in Nicaragua, which was really cool. But I had raised a bunch of money from my business to go and actually fund a well in Nicaragua. Rather than getting paid by the nonprofit, I got to actually fund one, which was like literally the highlight of everything.
Yeah,
Like the
full
thing I was
circle
most
for
proud
you.
of, super full circle moment. So 2020 was shooting weddings, but I was like, you know what? I actually think I'm kind of done shooting weddings. Like I think I want to move on to a different challenge in business. Like I want to move into more of the commercial space. I just knew I was feeling like something different is coming. And Joey and I, we actually started working on Creative Rise during that time as well. So I was finishing out all my weddings that year. We started launching the Creative Rise together. You started Creative Rise. I kind of joined in with Joey on
Yeah,
that.
we really started pushing it together.
Really started
working
pushing
on
it in
building it
2020.
out.
I transitioned fully that year into working with brands, which honestly, you guys, if you are a wedding photographer wanting to switch into brands and you think it's going to be like the most seamless, easy transition ever, it's not. It's a completely different business model. There's so many different changes and challenges and ways you talk. Now, I will say, wedding photographers, I think, have a leg up on brand photographers.
Completely agree with this.
You know how to
Coming
shoot.
from a brand photographer.
You know how to shoot in every situation with non-models, and it's unbelievable. So anyways,
yeah,
2020
posing, directing, all that stuff.
2020 shifted into commercial work, and then 2021 till now, I'll just speed it up really quick. Now I shoot brands full-time, ton of personal brands.
Yeah, some big startup
like
launches.
celebrity
you gotta-
entrepreneurs, some startup brands, Airbnbs, all that kind of stuff. And it's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
Really cool challenge.
Really cool story.
I kind of want to bring some couples back into my business because
Yeah.
I honestly miss it so much, like just for fun. But that's kind of me.
Yeah, we were at the beach.
My
like,
fast track story.
Beach not that long ago. She's like, I just miss like telling couples to run down there and let's like shoot the couples. So she's like, what do you think
Only-
about shooting couples
only
again? I was
wedding
like,
photographers will
well, I never shot
understand.
couples, but if you want to do it and it's fun, absolutely, let's do it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
so
who
maybe
knows?
it'll be a little bit of that
We'll
on your
see.
2024,
But
2025.
the brand side is my full-on bread and butter.
That's where you're
I
at.
love it.
Yeah,
I
and you
love
do a
it.
great job of that.
Thank you.
So
it's great.
That's a
Well-
quick little like on Christy's story in what is that, 7 years, 2017 to 2024, or 2016? Yeah, it's 8 years, 2016 to 2024.
Lots of highs, lots of lows. So I just want, hopefully that story just makes you feel like you can do it because I'm not anything special, but I just knew some of the right things to do and it works. So let's jump into.
You're pretty special. but-
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
she's
that.
pretty
A little biased, but that's okay. Let's jump into Joey's story. So
Yeah.
Joey started a little bit earlier than I did, even though you are younger than I am. Your story
I was a
starts-
baby.
Your story starts when you were a little infant, 2012.
Yeah.
How old were you?
2012, I would have been 13. I would have been, 13.
So while the rest of us were
13, 14.
playing rec soccer, Joey started building his business. So tell them a little bit how you got started.
Well, long story short, I struggled in school. ADHD diagnosed. I'm not just one of those, I have ADHD people. I'm like,
Trendy ADHD
actually, I'm not a
person.
trendy. At least maybe I am trendy with my ADHD, but I've been doing it when it wasn't a trend. ADHD, I got a diagnosed processing disorder. Just my brain works in different ways than the school system teaches. Very cliche story, but it was my story. And so I felt like at a young age, I had to find some type of output where I could somehow be valuable at something. I wasn't valuable in the school system, but how could I be valuable outside of that? Find ways to use the things I love. So yeah, I got really, really involved just growing up in a lot of sports. And then specifically as I aged, lots of action sports. So 2012, 2013-ish was me filming. I literally used to do this. I used to shoot a video, come home. I had a school laptop. The school gave me a laptop because I was in like the programs where you were like getting support because I had all these problems. So they gave me like a school funded, like terrible laptop. But I remember getting like free editing software on that. And every day in 2012 and 2013, I would go out after school and find something to shoot. And most of the time it was jumping a bike over a little fire pit. It was skiing and snowboarding. It was skateboarding. It was cliff jumping. It was water sports. Like I was in that world.
Yeah.
So 2013, I started to kind of get a good taste of, wow, like I actually start to see some of myself in this and a lot of my friends start to get a little bit of exposure with brands for what we're doing on an athletic side. And then I saw how content was starting to tie into that. I wasn't getting paid to do it, but the brands that we were shooting content of, the products we were wearing, the things we were doing, loved our stuff. And I was like 13. I was like, this is so cool. Like I am valuable. I'm able to give value to these adults, which is so cool. And it was such a polar opposite from like the struggles I had in school. And it was really cool. So yeah, that was kind of how I got started with like cameras. And I started to think about business. Like, wait a second, I can give value to somebody through filming something and then going home to my little, HP computer and flipping it open and making some type of little video and then sending it to the brand for free. That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, I love that. And then in 2014, you finally started getting paid. How much did you make in 2014? How old were you as well?
Oh, so in 2014, I would have been like, yeah, I would have been 14, 15. I would have been 15 and 16 in 2014 because I'm born
Okay.
later in the year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
2013 was when I first got paid for a couple little things, but 2014 was when I was like, okay, I'm actually going to make this a business. And it was when I really started to double down on athlete marketing, on sports marketing. So I was shooting a lot of the athletes around me. We're all passing the camera around, getting clips. We're reaching out to brands like a ton. Hey, we should be on your team. We should be sponsored by you guys. Here's the content we can create for you. And it was just like this rush of Instagram, social media. Facebook is booming. Instagram was pretty
Yeah.
new at that point, only a couple years old. And so it was cool to see how the world was getting online. And at least I felt like back then I saw how content was going to play a big role in what I was really interested in, which was sports at the time. So I just doubled down on like, how do I find brands that want to hook us up with stuff and they can either just give us free stuff or maybe I can even get paid a little bit and I can turn this thing to a business. And so as a young teenager, that's what my year 2015 looked like, which was really fun. So I got like my first legit, like consistent brand deal back then, which was awesome. Shout out to Team LTD. That was like my first,
Shout out.
probably
The
like
goats.
longer term deal that I had with a company where I was getting to work with them and like actually help them accomplish business goals. It was really cool.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you made 10 to 15K that year.
Yeah, I probably made like 10 or 15 grand.
Which for a 15,
I was in like,
16-year-old
yeah, well,
is
I was in like grade 10. Like I couldn't even drive yet.
big money.
Born later in the year, so I couldn't even drive yet. And it was like cool because the year before that, I was like always trying to find like quarters on the ground and stuff, so I could buy Timbits or buy donuts at Tim Hortons at lunchtime. Where now I was like, yo, I can buy myself a bagel. This is sick.
You can upgrade to the
I can
bagel.
upgrade to a bagel. I still love the order. 4-cheese bagel toasted with butter from Tim Hortons slaps.
That- all the
So good.
Canadians
Or a
know.
croissant, but
All
they
the
don't
Canadians
toast the
know.
croissants anymore because they catch on
Oh,
fire. So
sad. Maybe
I
for
can't.
next
I
year,
don't
maybe.
get those anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so then fast forward 2015.
Yes.
You're really committed. You're like, I'm making this, my life. I'm giving a ton to like photo, video, and then you started to learn to pitch brands. But I
Mhm.
want to touch on, how did you used to pitch brands?
Well, I used to pitch brands the same way everybody else would, right? Hey, my name is Joey. I think I'm a pretty okay skier. I probably used to say, I think I'm a pretty good skier, or I won this competition. I ski on your skis. You should give me free skis. Or it was, hey, I love your clothing. My name is Joey. I'm a photographer and you should work with me. It was like just a total, this is me and you should do this for me.
For me.
And it wasn't until I remember one day I came home from school, probably to edit a video like I did every day. And I was sitting on my laptop and I remember seeing a video of Gary Vaynerchuk, for anybody who doesn't know who that is, where everyone should know who that is. I'm assuming you all do. And he was sitting getting his hair cut. And I'd never seen content like this because this was like really, really early on in like kind of like the lifestyle-y, follow somebody around with a camera style content that he helped pioneer, daily vlog style stuff. Gary's sitting getting his hair cut. And he's like, if you watch Gary Vee, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's like, you're not trying hard unless you're like pitching like, 20 to 30 brands a day. He's like, if you want to work with brands, like don't even tell me you want to work with brands unless you're pitching like crazy. And I was like, all right, I'll pitch for like 2 to 3 hours a day. I'll try that. So what did I do? I started pitching for 2 to 3 hours a day every day when I would get home from school. And what were my pitches? Hey, my name is Joey. I'm a photographer, filmmaker. You should work with me. They were so bad. But in the process of scaling up my output, meaning I was scaling up the capacity at which I was pitching, I really started to see, well, none of this is working. How should I adjust this? And I started to learn, 2015 was a year where I really started to learn how to look at somebody for more than just what they could do for me. And hey, what could I potentially do for them? How could I potentially solve
Such
one
a
of their
big
problems? So
shift.
2015, shout out to Gary Vee getting his haircut, because that video changed my life in a lot of ways because I got the drive and the desire to want to pitch at a massive scale.
Yeah.
And the massive scale then showed me what was really not working in my pitches. And I was able to change that and start to get some responses and really start to work on some of those brand relationships, which was awesome.
Awesome. And then in 2016 was when you really started to get into like travel. Like you
Yeah, well, it was the first time I graduated high school
Yeah.
in 2015, I think. So 2016 was my first chance at really traveling internationally. I'd never traveled internationally other than going to Florida once on a road trip when I was really, really young. So I got to travel. I got to go to all over. I think that was the year I went to South Africa, did some of
Canada.
Europe. I went all over Canada. But what I did was, because I was in such a pitch
Grind.
hustle, I started going, hey, I'm going on all these trips. You guys should send me with your products. Therefore, you don't have to pay somebody to go because I'm already going, and send me with your products and I'll shoot everything for you. And
Smart.
that was the year where I got my first ever retainer. It was $500 per month, which I thought was like $1,000,000 back then. Like I was like, dude, do you know how many Timbits or bagels?
Bagels I can
Going back
get?
to the bagel conversation, do you know how many 4-cheese bagels toasted with butter I can buy for $500 per month?
Not
Like
more.
I was jacked up. No, you can still buy those. You can't buy the croissants.
No, I'm saying like for the price.
Oh, true. Yeah,
Inflation,
everything's so much more
inflation.
expensive. So yeah, it was 2016 was a great year because I got to travel for the first time and kind of go the places that I wanted to go. I got to experience a lot of things I got to experience, and that only fueled my brand at that point, which my brand had always been like the outdoors meets, extreme sports content creator. That's kind of where I was. That was like the trio of my brand: content creation, outdoor stuff, and then extreme sports, athletics. So getting to travel, I got to really fuel all that because it just enhanced all of those experiences. Then I got to share it with them online. And then a lot of brands would say, oh, next time you go there or next trip you're going on, we want to send you with our products because that video of you doing a gainer off a waterfall, then picking up a water bottle and drinking out of it would be perfect for our product placement. Can we do that? So it was really cool because I felt like 2016 was the year where I really solidified who I was becoming in terms of like being a creator.
Yeah.
And I think I got a lot of brand recognition for that. And that started to fuel a lot of the brand partnerships, which was awesome. So
Yeah.
that was really fun. I felt like I was cracking it at $500 a month with that one retainer. And I had a ton of one-off deals. And yeah, that was a really good year.
Yeah. And then in 2017, you got a pivotal brand deal with an outdoor retailer. Talk a little bit.
Yeah. So it's actually my local outdoor store. And I remember being like, man, I just love being in there. It's cool. There's always like cool product reps in there from the companies that I want to be working with. And so I went there and I applied for a job. This is kind of a funny story. I went and applied for a job at this local outfitters, full on knowing I was never going to be an employee there because I was running my own business and that's what I love to do. But in the interview, they're like, hey, so here's the role. Here's what this looks like. And I said, hey, I have another idea for you. What if I don't come on as an employee, but you pay me as a contractor? And what if I spend all of this next, I think it was like 7 or 8 months, traveling the world, taking your products from your store, sharing about where I got them from, and then giving you guys a ton of content for you to increase your own brand recognition through your own social media and helping you guys get online a little bit better. How does that sound? They were like, that's pretty cool. So I got to get into social media management for the first time. I got to get into helping like build social funnels for this outdoor this outdoor retailer and all the brands it was associated with. And I got to meet a lot of brands through that relationship, which was really, really cool. So I got to go all over the world. 2017, New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia. So I jumped all over Indonesian islands, which was a ton of fun. Iceland, all over the US and Canada. That was a big travel year for me. I wasn't home very much that year. I was gone a lot. And it was just like brand deal after brand deal after brand deal after brand deal because I was going out and deciding I was doing all these things. And then I was pitching the opportunity to all of these brands. Hey, you ever wanted your products to be in New Zealand on this glacier doing this thing? Well, I'm going. Here's how we can make, some great content for you and how it's going to be of value to your social. So 2017 was a cool year because I feel like I started to really understand marketing at scale and like how content marketing plays into not just like your social media, but how that plays into like your website marketing and funnels and email marketing. And I got to contribute to a lot of those things, which is really cool. So I got to live my dream at the time, which was just traveling as much as humanly possible. And not only just like breaking even on it, but actually getting paid, coming home with money in my pocket, which was something that I was just like stoked out of the world to experience. So,
and I feel like 2018 was like a big financial, like thriving year for you.
Yeah.
Like really pushing into like, how do I scale this up? How do I get smarter in how I work and like who I work with? And so talk about some of those jobs and also talk about working B2B rather than just these out like brands.
So coming off the crazy years of a couple years of like travel, 2016, 2017 were a lot of travel. I started to get a little bit of a like, I love to travel. I'm going to continue to do it, but I'm getting these like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 brand deals here and there. It would be really cool to start working on bigger projects. What does that look like? And while you can definitely do that in the travel space, and I have done that in the travel space, there's a lot of opportunity. And I didn't realize that at the time until I found it that year in like B2B local businesses. So B2B means business to business. So rather than it being like business to consumer, which is like a t-shirt brand, they're selling to consumers, selling to people like us. B2B is like a company that, does transport trucking. And so they are selling their services to some type of company to ship something across the country. Like that's a B2B example. So 2018 was a big year because, first of all, it started with me working with Uber down in New Zealand. That was a crazy story of how I got to shoot an Uber commercial down there. Um, yeah, wild. It's a crazy story because I got robbed out of a bunch of money.
You kind of got screwed over.
I never actually got paid for that gig. It's a whole story with the marketing agency that was brokering it. Ended up having a bunch of problems and fraud, and the owners split, and they took everybody's money, and the whole deal went bad after Uber had already gotten the content, and so I never got paid. A lot of lessons learned from that. There's 10 podcasts out of what I learned from that deal. But it was really cool because I got to work with Uber, which was like a massive, massive dream. And the project was really cool. So that was really cool. So the year started with that. Then I got to go to Thailand and shoot a mini docu-series over there, which was a ton of fun. And then I came home and I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on really scaling up what it looks like to do some B2B work here. And I really started to find a rhythm and getting like $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 jobs that would, I could load up a couple of those in a month. So that was my first taste when I really started to make like $10,000 plus a month and, be on track for that 6-figure mark. And I just got obsessed with the ideology of like building up these cool offers and getting to sell them to people, whether it was over, across the world, getting to travel, or if it had a really just typical kind of boring, but really fun at the same time, local element to it working in the B2B industry. So
Yeah.
2018, I think is where I really started to scale the business, getting, much more consistent $10,000 months plus.
Yeah.
It was a ton of fun. It was really cool.
That's great. And then 2019, you got to work on a project for a pretty big car company in Australia and Canada.
Yeah, I got to do a project for Ford, and I pitched them on this concept where I was starting down in Australia and then I was ending in Canada. And the whole idea was it was a truck that was only available kind of in the South Pacific at the time and in Europe. And they didn't have it in North America yet. So I went down there and shot a bunch of content with it. And then they launched them in Canada and I shot content there and paired it all together. That was really fun. So that was another dream client, getting to work with Ford. But the biggest one was that same year, 2019, I got to check off the list, getting to work with Yeti, which was crazy. And there's, again, so many lessons, tons of podcast episodes that could come out about the experience of working with Yeti. But that was like the same way Beholden was like the dream client for you. Yeti was the dream client for me as I was in the outdoor space. So it was like Yeti was like the pinnacle of who you could work with. And that was really cool. I got to help launch Yeti into Canada and shoot their launch campaign to come into the country and sell all their products. And that was very cool. I learned a lot about big business in that deal. And it was a dream. It was really cool. So that same year, I started in August. August 2019 is when I started a little side project called the Creative Rise Mastermind. At the time, it wasn't a brand. It wasn't a podcast. It was just like this little 6-week kind of curriculum set that I put together that I wanted to share around with some people I knew to see if it could help them grow their businesses. And turns out it worked.
It worked.
5-6 years later, here we are, still doing the same thing. Obviously, it's been innovated a ton and it's been really built out. And you've obviously done a massive part in that. But 2019 is when that all started, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And at the same time, 2019 is when I started to get more into general brand building rather than just being a content producer. So instead of just doing the content, I started handling the content and like the scripting of films and the distribution of films on socials and building out web funnels for people. And I was like, wait a second, there's like a whole brand building experience in here that I'm really enjoying. And I actually figured out that year I really love the idea and the philosophy behind what makes a good brand, especially on the narrative side and the visual side. So 2019 is when I also started shifting a little bit more into I'm not going to work with people unless I'm helping them in more of a full service way rather than it just being content. I want to do everything for them. And that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
It's awesome. And then 2020, what happened then? You started traveling less. You doubled down in the B2B space.
Well, we met in 2019.
We did.
So I moved to
Can't skip over that.
California in 2020 and because I was pursuing Christy and we were getting married. We're doing that whole thing. It was awesome. One of the best years of my life. And so, yeah, I doubled down during COVID because I couldn't travel for a while. I doubled down really, really hard on the B2B space, really scaling up how I was working with B2B companies. doing a lot of personal brand work. So helping, not my own necessarily, but helping other people build personal brands, which was super fun because I was mixing the content strategy, and the brand building that I'd kind of found in this trio of skills that I'd come to really love, and had a little bit of a corner carved out in the niches that I was in. So yeah, that was really fun. 2020 that happened. And ever since 2020, my life has kind of looked like that. It's been
Yeah.
Creative Rise over here, building brands over here, helping startup brands launch, helping, businesses and brands get online, and always visual branding, narrative branding, social media, photo and video, the two of us doing that together. It's building out funnels for people. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
So that kind of like wraps up the last couple of years, 2020 to 2024, but it's just kind of been a lot of that. And I really, really love it. I love that we get to do it all together. And it's fun that you've kind of got your thing that I get to help you with. I've got my thing you get to help me with. And then
Yeah.
together we also get to work on Creative Rise and have a
It's so
blast.
fun owning your own business. It's
Yeah.
the best.
It is the best.
Literally the best.
It is the best. So
It's awesome.
that is a little bit of a quick catch up on both Christy's story and my story. Hopefully that's helpful
Hopefully
to
you
hear.
feel like you know us a little bit more.
Yeah, hopefully you know us a little bit better. Hopefully you're aware of like, oh, I want to hear more about how Joey got screwed over.
Yeah.
And you will listen to future episodes, and
I
I
get
think we'll
that.
probably tell some of the stories. But most importantly, guys, if you resonate with what we're talking about and kind of the journey we've been on, well, we hope that you are also building out that journey for yourself, because there is zero better decision outside of some of the big life decisions I've made, about what I believe, who I married, where I live. Like probably one of the next best decisions I made was to start my business
Yeah.
back when I was 14. And you would probably say the same thing for yourself back in
Absolutely.
2016, 2017.
Absolutely.
So we really want that for you guys. So this week, again, is a huge week because on Wednesday, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, we are having the six-figure creator live workshop. Going to be covering the 5 trends and tools that you can learn from us and some of the other guest experts we're having on. You can also start applying them this week, so you can start actually getting some traction on your business and either taking your business from 80K to 120, or from 120 to 150, or maybe you're just starting and you want to go from 0 to your first 50 grand a year. This workshop is going to be super foundational to help you do that. And if you're listening to this after, or if this is just still applies to you and still relevant to you after Wednesday, we are also in the almost launch season for the next round of the Creative Rise Mastermind, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
So what are the dates again for that?
Yes, it starts September 15th. Applications open to the public September 1st. But if you get on the wait list, you get early access. Not only early access, but also $100 off and bonus courses that equal up to like $1,000
Yeah.
extra value. So if this is before September 1st and you are interested at all, you want to join the wait list, or if it's live, it's just the early access. Go to creativerise.com, buttons everywhere. Feel free to DM us if you've got questions, whether it's about the mastermind, the workshop, or just a question about your business.
Yeah,
Like,
growing your business.
Joey and I are literally just here to help. Like, we just want to help more creatives succeed at doing what they love. That is literally the goal here at Creative Rise. Nothing else. We just want to see you succeed, which is why we do all of these things. So we hope you'll join us in
Yeah.
some capacity or another. But
Yeah.
you guys, thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, share it with a friend, share it on socials, shoot us a tag. We'd love, love, love to say hello. And yeah, we'll see you guys next
Other
week.
than that, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Hopefully this is fun. Yeah, have a great rest of the week, guys.